flag should have been flown at half-staff? Do you think his body should have been flown on Air Force Two? Do you think he should have posthumously be given the Presidential Medal of Freedom? I think some people felt that that was perhaps over the top in terms of mourning someone like Charlie Kirk.
Really, Katie Couric? Really? The mourning of the loss of Charlie Kirk was over the top. Flying American flags at half-staff, flying Charlie Kirk back home on Air Force Two. The entire nation in mourning. Well, not the entire nation, as I'm sure you guys remember. The unfortunate, untimely death of Charlie Kirk, it exposed the unbelievable amount of evil that is living amongst us in this country, vast majority of which are parishioners at Woke United Methodist, or they are currently being indoctrinated at Woke U. But according to Katie Couric, who, believe it or not, used to be a respected journalist, according to Katie Rue, the sadness from normal people following the death of Charlie Kirk, it was over the top. You know, in recent years, I have noticed that nostalgia has been a lot more prevalent than it was in the past. Shows from the 90s are being remade. The NBA is living in the past. They are living in the shadow of the icon of icons, Michael Jordan. Casual fans of the league wish the NBA would return to the great product that it was in the 90s. Same thing in the WWE. For years now, the WWE has been heavily reliant on stars from past eras to draw an audience. The question is why? Why is nostalgia so prevalent? Why does it seem like we're constantly wanting to revisit the past? Maybe, just maybe, it's because modern entertainment absolutely sucks. The music industry is dead. It's not on life support, it's dead. There are no real artists anymore. We no longer have real musicians. I saw something earlier this morning. The number one song right now in country music is some doofus song that was written and performed by AI. The number one honky-tonk song in the country isn't even real. And I think that's the point. I think that's the main reason we keep looking to the past. The 90s weren't perfect. The 2000s weren't perfect. I'm sure the older people in my audience will admit the 60s, 70s, 80s, they weren't perfect. But back then, at least we had a semblance of authenticity. When you watched Tom Brokaw on NBC Nightly News, when you watched Katie Couric and Matt Lauer on the Today Show, you didn't have to wonder if they were lying to you. You didn't have to question if they were being real. Unfortunately, the mainstream media has become the ultimate deceiver. You can't trust anything you see in the mainstream media. I grew up watching Katie Couric on the Today Show. This used to be the lady that I watched when I was eating my cereal in the morning as she was smiling while interviewing some doofus celebrity. The Katie Couric I remember, she was always happy. She was radiant. But as you're about to see, that Katie Couric no longer exists. The Katie Couric we see today is just another bitter, angry, woke white woman. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. Earlier today on the second channel, talked about authenticity. We talked about a head coach in college football teaching boys how to become men. Rich Rodriguez, head coach at West Virginia, he unleashed a tirade on his own players because he is tired of seeing his players dress like women. Also, I wanted to clarify something real quick. For starters, I appreciate the outpouring of support from this audience. The other day, I made a video talking about the current slump that the channel's going through, mainly in November. Channel's still doing fine. I can't say this enough. I am very, very fortunate, but the channel's just not meeting my own personal expectations. Some of you guys reached out to me worried that I was losing my motivation, my enthusiasm. Some were even asking if I was giving up, if I was thinking about quitting YouTube. Absolutely not. I am not going anywhere. You guys are stuck with me. I have never been more motivated. I'm as hungry today as I was when I started. Matter of fact, I think I am more motivated today than I was back then. The purpose of that video the other day, it was just to share what I was going through. I needed to get it out, and I appreciate you guys for listening and caring. But don't worry, Uncle KC is not abandoning his family. Uncle KC is not going to be a deadbeat uncle. Yesterday, Katie Couric had John Fetterman on her podcast. Well, KC, I didn't know Katie Couric had a podcast. Yeah, me either. To her credit, Katie Rue still knows how to generate interest. Because John Fetterman is by far the most interesting man in the Democratic Party. Well, what about Zoran Mamdani? He's a huge star! Zorro? The Islamist? The communist? What the hell's interesting about Zorro? We have seen this movie many times before. Communists are all the same. When the American government was fighting Pablo Escobar and drug traffickers in the late 80s, early 90s, the CIA, they were fighting communists in South America at the same time, which meant the DEA and the CIA had completely different interests. The CIA back then had an interesting mantra. They said, drug traffickers, they want to take your money. Communists want to take everything you have. Anyway, Katie Couric interviewing John Fetterman. For reasons unknown, she is obsessed with baiting John Fetterman into tarnishing Charlie Kirk. Hasn't his poor wife, his children, haven't they suffered enough? They've already lost the patriarch of the family. They've lost their husband, their father. They are having to deal with Candace Owens insinuating that Charlie Kirk's colleagues at Turning Point USA had something to do with his death. This poor family had to watch as vile, disgusting, evil people celebrated the death of an American patriot. And now we've got Katie Couric trying to instigate John Fetterman into further tarnishing Charlie Kirk. This exchange lasted for well over 3 minutes. I condensed it for time and copyright reasons, but as you're about to see, Katie Couric keeps trying to set John Fetterman up. She's putting the turd in front of him. She's handing him the polish. All she wants John Fetterman to do is polish the turd. Just polish the turd. Unfortunately for Katie Couric, John Fetterman not only refused to polish the turd, he stomped on it. Watch for yourself.
Did you have any issues now in hindsight over some of the things that Charlie Kirk said and some of the rhetoric he used?
I didn't agree with much of it.
I'm sure you learned about them after his death, though.
No, I haven't done a deep dive on it. We've all seen that terrible video. Perhaps if you've seen the actual video, I have. And it's like appalling. And that's part of the political violence. And from what I'm saying, it's like that's unacceptable. And engaging in a debate and views I strongly disagree on, that's part of the American democracy. I just chose not to take the opportunity to argue his views after children lost his father in the most violent public way.
Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was extreme. I think that's the conversation that happened. People condemned political violence, but they also felt a great deal of discomfort with his language, suggesting that these kinds of words lead to violence.
That question or that statement, it was so disgusting. Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was extreme. Obviously, it led to violence. To me, the insinuation here is very clear. The insinuation is Charlie Kirk had it coming because he had the audacity to debate, because he had the audacity to speak the truth. The insinuation here from Katie Couric is Charlie Kirk basically led to his own demise. What an embarrassment. What a fall from grace for Katie Couric. This is the same Katie Couric that used to be America's sweetheart. Now, she's just another angry, bitter, woke white woman. I think we're at a tipping point right now for Democrats. And even though I am no longer a Democrat for obvious reasons, what happens over the next 3 years, it's going to determine the future of the Democratic Party and potentially the future of America. For starters, the Democrat Party that we grew up with, it's gone. The party of Bill Clinton, it no longer exists. Right now, the Democrats are at a crossroads. Last week, Nancy Pelosi announced her retirement. But the truth is, Nancy Pelosi was going to be kicked out of the party that she spent the last 4 decades building. Charles Schumer, he's going to be next. Charlie's political career is over. For the last 20 years, Glenn Beck has been trying to warn the Democrats. He's been trying to get them to wake the hell up. He has been telling Democrats that you cannot work with the radicals. You can't allow socialists, communists, Islamists. You can't allow them into the party because they will eventually come together, work together, and book moderate Democrats a first-class ticket on the Bruce Caboose out of the party, which is exactly what's happening now with the Democrats. The radicals are attempting to take over. AOC, LGBT, Zorro Mamdani, Omar Elon, Rashid Tlaib. To their credit, at least they're authentic. There's nothing fake about them. They are telling you exactly what they want to do. They want to take everything you own and redistribute your wealth. And most of that wealth redistribution will end up in their own bank accounts. So basically, they want to take your money. Then you have the doofus wing of the party. Gabby Newsom, governor of the People's Republic of California. Hakeem the Dream Jeffries, the governor of Illinois, Shamu Pritzker. They're still believing this delusion that they can control and use the radicals. Then you have real Democrats, old school Democrats, guys like Bill Maher, Josh Shapiro, but mainly John Fetterman. Believe it or not, I think John Fetterman is the only thing standing in the way of the Democrats being completely taken over by the communists. The question is, how long will it be before the entire Democratic Party turns against John Fetterman? We've already started to see it this week. He was lectured by the Yentas on The View. Katie Couric is trying to bait him into tarnishing Charlie Kirk. They are going to do everything they can to demonize and discredit John Fetterman. Mentally, I think John Fetterman is more than tough enough to fight. My biggest concern with John Fetterman, will his physical health hold up long enough for him to fight? Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.